Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about spiritual magic, the law of attraction, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm a musician, tarot oracle card reader, and teacher.
My name is Stephanie, and I'm a transformational life coach.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're listening to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and thank you so much for watching us. If you're watching us on the Co-Creation Station YouTube channel, if you feel so moved and for the audio version, you would like to follow us or subscribe to us, or what's the other thing you can do? Give us a review. Yes. That'd be great. And then on YouTube, if you would like to like this episode as a video and hit the subscribe button on our channel, we would greatly appreciate it. Helps us out a lot, and we're grateful to you for that. Each week here on Co-Creation Station, we start our discussion from a different jumping off point. And this week we decided to talk about a concept I first learned from Abraham Hicks, which is the vortex. And Stephanie, I thought it was a great idea, but it was your idea initially. You sent me a text message saying we need to talk about the vortex this week, and I was like,
well, specifically to explain to people what it is, because we mention it a lot, and for some people who don't follow Abraham Hicks or new to all of this, are like, what's the vortex? So I was like, oh yeah, let's let our listeners, let's talk about it. So
all right. So what is your understanding of the vortex?
My understanding of the vortex is that it is, just to simplify it for us all, it's a vibrational holding place where everything that we have asked for is. Energetically, it exists. Like when we ask, it is given. And when I talk about, being in and near the vortex, that is more of like a feeling, a vibrational point of attraction, place of where I am. So like when I'm feeling depressed or down or angry or, any kind of negative emotion, I am nowhere near. We're in the vortex because it is a feeling, an energy, a vibrational place. But that when I'm happy, when I'm thankful, when I'm content, anything that helps me feel any type of positive emotion, then I'm either near or in the vortex.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. That matches my understanding of what I've learned about it from Abraham. I have to say, like, before I was introduced to the law of attraction through the movie The Secret, and before I saw Jerry and Nestor Hicks and Abraham for the first time in the Hay House film, You Can Heal Your Life. I remember thinking about the story from time to time that I was told as a kid about Aladdin and the lamp and the genie, and thinking like, and really thinking like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if that happened someday? Like you got 3 wishes. And then also thinking like, what would be even cooler is if there was no limit to the wishes.
Woohoo!
And then in the film The Secret, they talk about how the fact that, guess what, life is actually like that. Like that's what the law of attraction actually is. You can actually order up the exact kind of life you want. The catch is that most of us grew up being taught that you can't. So it's really just this practice of like letting go of that belief and just really getting into like firming up in your mind this belief that you can do that. And also that the manifestations that come from the vortex into reality, when they manifest into reality, they're usually not instantaneous. And that's usually a good thing because it gives us the ability to like adjust. We might wake up one day and want something really bad, but then like a week later we see like, oh, well, no, that wouldn't really work for me. But if things, instantly manifested, it would be much crazier. Like, man, I really want a Ferrari, and then the Ferrari appears in your living room. It'd be kind of disruptive.
It'd be like, I don't have a place to store it, or like, what? Yeah. Do I really want it? Wait a minute.
Like, I don't have the money for the gas right now. Like, oh, I didn't think about that. Something like that. But I was really like, first of all, I was like super excited and happy that that's how it worked. Like my little childhood wish of like, what if we could just wish for things and they could just show up? It's like, that is
Wow.
actually how this universe was set up. Like,
Mhm.
so that's pretty cool. And I think what was really revelational, if that's a word, is that a word? It was a big
Okay.
revelation
Yes, there you
to me,
go.
was when, and I think, you know, in the You Can Heal Your Life movie, it's either in the film itself or in the DVD extras where they have longer, they show you the longer interviews with the people in it, like Abraham, is that this idea of the the 1, 2, 3 steps,
Mhm.
and that when your heart and soul and spirit identifies like, ooh, I would really like this thing, whatever, that spirit just does instantaneously put that in your vortex. Like, and then the only thing about how does it get from the vortex to manifest it into reality is the universe in its wisdom about when the perfect time and way is for things to be manifested in some sort of mysterious combination with your vibration around it in reality. Like if I
Which is
feel,
where the law of attraction comes in, because
right,
like attracts like. That's all the law of attraction is. Like attracts like.
right. So if I if I say, you know, I really could use, you know, $25,000 in my checking account, and that's something that does come from my heart and soul and spirit, that is instantly manifested in this spiritual place or vibrational space, as you say, called the vortex. But then if all day long, every day, I'm thinking negative thoughts and which are creating negative feelings, which are
Or
creating a negative vibration
doubt,
for me.
or yeah,
Yeah.
any
Well, I can
doubt,
never get money. I
fear.
never have enough
Mhm.
money. Why am I
Wo-
always running out of money? And that's my vibration. It's
Yeah.
going to sort of stay, most of the time, it's going to stay stuck in my well, I don't know if stuck is the right word, but
Well,
it's
it's
going to
just
stay
gonna
in my
stay
vortex
there. Yeah. Well, and
because
because
I
we're
am literally,
I'm not being a vibrational match. It's all has to be
right,
like attracts like. And so though
right.
none of those thoughts which you just said are a match to having that amount of money. Um,
Yeah.
I have a
But that was
really
revolutionary to me because my whole thinking about how I would get things into my life was like I had to do a bunch of work and it might not happen. And the whole understanding from Abraham that like no, spirit, the universe, God, however you think about that, puts it in your vortex for you, so it's there as soon as you have the natural desire for it.
yeah, the asking.
It just I don't know, there's something about that just shifted my whole thing about like, oh, I have been thinking about this as way harder
I know, huh?
and
Yeah.
and at times just impossible than it really is. And
Yeah.
it's literally like, I mean, there's countless examples. We've talked about a lot of our experiences here, but yesterday you and I went to Laguna Beach together. We met in Laguna Beach to celebrate season 1 and all that, and had a
Yay.
fantastic day.
Yeah, it was
And
awesome.
I think there were multiple things where we vibrationally talked about something or thought about something, and then it popped up pretty soon, actually. But the one I remember was I told you this funny story about a sports announcer reacting to how Shohei Ohtani, and a player on the baseball team, the Anaheim Angels, had hit a home run so far at Tropicana Field that it bounced off one of the walls in the bleachers and hit the brand new taco stand. And nobody thought that anyone could ever hit the taco stand with a home run ball. And so the announcer was, you know, going berserk about the fact he'd hit the new taco stand. And I just thought that was funny. I shared that with you, and we're walking around Laguna, the streets of Laguna, and going into shops and stuff. And
It
then
was literally like 10, 15 minutes after you had shared that
yeah,
story
it
with
was,
me.
yeah, like I saw a gentleman in an Angels jersey, like a fan jersey, and I was like, the name on the back of that jersey is going to be Otani. I knew it because like, we just talked about it, and we were in a like attracts like mode. Like we were happy, we were
Oh
having a
yeah.
great time, we both
We were
felt great.
laughing
So
and
I'm like,
enjoying each other's company.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, the universe is gonna. It maybe can't send uh, Shohei Otani himself to us,
It
but it
totally
will do the
could, but
next
that
thing.
wasn't what the
It
next
could, yeah. Yeah.
he wasn't that close to us, obviously. He
Yeah.
was who knows where, you know?
He was probably playing a baseball game, which is his job.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like, I didn't even have to. It's funny because I don't know if you noticed at the time, but I was like trying to get around the back of the gentleman to see it, and he was in a conversation with his friends, and he kept moving away from me. But I was like, but I knew it would be Otani on the back of the shirt, and of course it was. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
that's how it works.
I know. And then I saw him, and then you had already I spied him, and so you were
Yeah.
doing your maneuver, and so I just saw the front of him, and then as you said it, he turned within seconds in a
Uh,
certain way, or we walked around him, and then we
yeah.
both saw the name on. You're like, I knew
Yeah.
it, and then you referred because I didn't know what was going on really, and then you're like, remember? I'm like, oh yeah, huh.
Well, and the other thing about that story, I didn't think about this until now, but didn't that lead to a discussion when I told the story about the home run? Didn't that lead to a discussion about you talking about being at a Padres game and getting you had a jersey
Oh
on?
yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. That's right.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it was awesome. So I know I've talked about this before, but I just want everyone to know, like, we're going to repeat stuff
yeah,
because the more we hear it, the more it sinks in, and they're good stories. So anytime there's something good, we want to keep talking about it because we definitely do with the opposite of that. Um, so the one experience I've had that really stands out to this about, when we ask, it is given. And that
mhm,
we don't even need to put words to it. It can just be as simple as a thought. That's
mhm,
the power, because a thought is energy as well. That's the first part of the energy stream. And so I remember several summers ago, because my nieces were very young and my granddaughter was young, and it was in the summer, and I was super excited because I was taking them to Torrey Pines, a beach here in San Diego, and I was packing up the car, and I said to them, I'm like, I need a beach umbrella, you guys. Man, I wish I had a beach umbrella today, because I don't like to be in the sun, like the beating heat sun. And so packed up the car, went to Torrey Pines, had a fabulous time with the kids. And then several days later, just a few days later, I was thinking, I had an iPod at the time. This is going to show you how long ago it was. And I just remember thinking, I thought this, I wish I had something that I could play my iPod in my house so I could hear my music. Never thought about it again, didn't even say it out loud. And then I was super excited to go for a bike ride that Sunday with my husband. We were going to go garage sale shopping, and I was going to take him to this French cafe. And so we're heading out that morning, and across the street from us, these young college-aged women were getting ready to move. So they were having a garage sale. And I was like, oh, wow, first, we don't even leave our house, and there's a garage sale. So we go over there, and we're looking around, and I see some journals that they hadn't used. And so I'm picking those up. One of the young women says to me, do you have an iPod? And I go, yeah, why? And she just turned around and went into the house. A few minutes later, comes back with this brown paper bag, and she pulls out an iHome. And she goes, I don't use Apple products anymore. And she starts telling the story, and it's brand spanking new. The only thing she doesn't have is the remote. And I could put my iPod on it and play my music in my house. And I'm like, just looking at her like, and I'm like, how much? She goes, $20. I'm like, okay. And I set it over there in my pile, and I look around the garage sale more. And this woman pulls up in a Jeep, and she starts taking out all of her stuff, and she's going to sell her things with her friends. And she pulls out this long thing and sets it on the lawn. And I go, what is that? And she goes, oh, it's a sun umbrella. And I go, oh, I go, how much do you want for it? She goes, $5. I'm like, okay. And I just grab that. And I'm like, I haul my loot, and I'm walking across the street, and I'm like going, oh my God, I got my sun umbrella and my iHome. And I get it home, and I just remember thinking, I just said this week, like I said I wanted the sun umbrella, and I just thought, I didn't even say the words. I'm thinking I want something to play my iPod. And what I did that week, I had a great time with my nieces and my granddaughter at the beach. I was super excited to go with my husband and treat him to this cafe that I had discovered, and ride our bikes, which I love doing. So I was practicing the art of allowing. And then I didn't know those things were coming, and the power of the word and the thought, like we don't even, it was just a fleeting thought. And then I went about my business. And that is
Mhm.
how the law of attraction and the art of allowing works. It's that simple. And the only thing that ever, when we ask it, is given. And the only thing that ever blocks it from us receiving it, is my thoughts, my negative emotion, my resistance, which, both those things are. Because every time we ask, it is given. It's just in this energetic, vibrational, the vortex holding place for us, waiting for us to be a vibrational match to it. And that, by practicing the art of allowing, that's how we can become a match to it. And then in ways we never would have imagined, it just pops out of the vortex and into our experience, which is so cool.
Yeah, I love that story. And I think, it's funny because I still have doubt in my brain. I mean,
Me
again,
too.
I was raised to believe that this was everything we're talking about was not the way it worked. So I'm still replacing those beliefs. But I'm not sure where I heard it. I don't think it was Abraham. I think it was one of the books I was reading about the law of attraction, but it said, like, if you want to really just see if it works. It suggested this exercise, which was to imagine a bird's feather, um, like that you might find on the ground, and just imagine it really specifically. Like imagine the colors, how big is it? Is it small? Is it large? Is it wide? Is it narrow? And like just get really specific about it, and really like hold it in your mind for a minute or so, and then like let it go and forget about it.
Mm.
And chances are that in the next few days you will be walking somewhere outside and you'll look down on the ground and the exact feather that you envisioned, or something very close to what you envisioned, will be right there for you. And I did that. I mean, I think I already believed in the law of attraction at that point, but I was
Yeah.
like, let's see, let's give it a go. And it totally happened. Like it totally happened. And it was like a day later I was out for a walk and I saw the feather that I had envisioned. And so I mean, that's something that people can, if you really want to, if anybody listening to this is struggling with doubt at any point about the vortex and how it works, that's a cool exercise. I mean, you can kind of do it with anything, but I think the feather thing is like an easy thing to, like, most places in the
Imagine.
world have birds of some
Yeah.
sort, so you can just do
Yeah.
that and see. And for me, even though I already believed in the law of attraction, it really did kind of solidify my belief in it, because it was like, oh wow, like I've never seen a feather like that before. Like that was something that I literally just
That's
put in my
cool.
mind the other day.
Yeah.
And the thing that's amazing about that is, because I think I'm just trying to picture, like, if I had never watched The Secret, if I'd never heard of Abraham, and we're here talking about the vortex, I would
Yeah.
be like, very skeptical about, like, how would that, what's a vibrational field, or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think that's, for me, like, I kind of need to let go of, any kind of like scientific proof or whatever. And I understand some people really need that, in order
Yes.
to believe in things, like it's
Yes.
the whole, I need to see it and then I'll believe it. And a
Right.
lot of the law of attraction stuff and the other spiritual stuff we talk about here on the pod is, it's the reverse. Wayne Dyer used to
Right.
say that you need to believe it, then you'll see it. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
how the law of attraction works. Like if you
Yeah.
believe you'll see the feather, you'll see the feather. If
Yeah.
you're waiting for, if you try to do that feather exercise and all day long you're walking around going, I bet I won't see that feather, I bet I won't see that feather,
You're
you
absolutely
won't see
right.
the feather.
Yeah.
Like you will manifest the lack of the feather, which is what
Yep.
you're putting out.
Exactly.
But I get how that's sort of, it feels contradictory to people. It feels like the logical way that we learn about things is, no, you see it and you see the proof and then you believe it. And some things in the world do work like that. But the law of attraction works the other way. And you just, for me, I think somebody early on just told me, like, you just got to let go of, I mean, but you and I have talked about, like, actually science. This is one place where science and spirituality are actually like starting to come together. Like we're starting to get things out of like quantum physics and things like that are actually starting to demonstrate like how and why the law of attraction
Yeah.
actually does work, and
Yeah.
and why these things happen. But I think still, like, if that's what you're going to get tangled up in, it's going to be a lot more challenging. It's just like, accept that there's a magical place called the vortex. You can't see it visibly with your eyes, but it's there, and it has the stuff that you are desiring for your life. And if you can feel good and keep your vibration, high and positive, then it's like there's a doorway from the invisible magic, place called the vortex, and it will be open, and stuff that you desire will flow into your life. In we don't have control over the specific times, the specific, like you said, how it comes about, but it will come about.
Yeah. Well, and you say magic, and I think some people, oh, airy fairy magic,
Yeah.
like not real stuff. But when you say magic, I like to think of it as like it's magical, it's special, it is real,
Yeah.
um, and I remember several years ago listening to an Abraham Hicks CD or something, and Abraham's like, test the universe. Say, do you
Yeah.
know what I want? Do you know where it is? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so I did it that morning. I'm like, I out loud, and I'm standing in my dining room. I'm like, do you know what I want, universe? Do you know where it is? And went about my morning, and then had this amazing experience, which is kind of private, so I'm not going to go into great detail. However, within 20 minutes, I was given some information, and I found out that I get to have something I want, and spirit told me how, and I was floored. And when it was happening, I didn't know. And then after I got off the phone call, I was like so happy. And then I was like, oh my God, I had just said, do you know what I want? Do you know where it is? And it was floored me. So that's something that someone else can do too. Just say out loud or to yourself, do you know what I want, universe? Do you know where it is? And then let it go, as Collin said earlier, and then just, you may be pleasantly surprised. And I don't remember where I got this from, but I did back in the day, make copies of it. And it's, the secret to having it all is believing you already do.
Mm.
The secret to having it all is believing you already do. And I think that really goes back into when we ask, it is given. And then
Mm.
just trusting that it exists, it's been given. And imagine like living. I would love to grow that muscle for myself. Um,
Yeah.
that I just know that it is.
Yeah.
And then I just go about my life living it however I choose. And that, just like, of course, positive expectation. That's what Abraham calls it, positive expectation, like with no doubt.
Yeah. I think the other thing that Abraham really helped me understand through talking about the vortex and explaining how it worked was this whole thing. And we talked about this in a couple episodes last season of why do you get what you want sometimes, not at others, and
Oh,
and how do you take inspired action? Those two episodes we talked about this a bit, but that was something that came out of Abraham talking about the vortex for me. It was like, because I had learned about affirmations, and that you could manifest things through affirmations as well. And so I had used affirmations a lot before discovering the secret and discovering Abraham. And sometimes what I did the affirmation on would manifest, and sometimes it would definitely not. And that really frustrated me as somebody who was trying to learn this spiritual stuff and get better at it. It's like, well, am I doing something wrong? Because I feel like I'm doing it the same way, and yeah, I'm getting really different results. And what the whole vortex concept, Abraham's explanation of it, helped me understand is that, oh, like the times that I was getting what I wanted from the affirmation, it meant that I had a really good vibration going, both when I was doing the affirmation and kind of continuing afterwards.
mhm.
So again, I was allowing that door from the vortex vibrational space to be open, and for the universe to deliver it into manifested reality. But there were certain affirmations I was doing where, even though I was saying, something like, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but I'll just say a car. I'll say like like one of the methods I was taught was like, thank you so much, universe, for giving me this new car that I already have. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm very grateful for it, or something like that. And, saying in the present tense, saying it like it's already here, um, you know, and the car wouldn't show up. And what I would realize after listening to Abraham's explanation of the vortex is that's because even though you're saying kind of the correct words, like I would have a belief, which is meaning like a contradictory thought
Yeah, yeah.
underneath that was getting triggered sort of subconsciously. So I'm saying out loud to myself, thank you for this brand new car that I already love and have and drive. I'm very grateful for it. But what I was actually thinking underneath, the more
Yeah.
dominant thought was, there's no way I can get this car.
And it's not
And
even
so,
underneath. It was like probably like as you were saying it, you were thinking like,
well, yeah,
no, I don't. Not, you know what I mean?
yeah,
They're not
happening at the
subconscious
same
thought.
time.
They're there.
Well, I guess what was confusing for me is like I'm hearing myself say the right thing. Like I
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
present tense, I have the car, thank you, universe. But you're right. At that exact same time, my brain is also thinking, but
Right
there's no
after.
way I'm gonna
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. That
And that
affirmation, because
actually,
I can relate to that.
yeah, and that actually puts me in a emotional state. And that's what I really realized was like, oh, the things that I believed I could get when I did the affirmation, I felt
Yeah.
really happy because I'm like, oh yeah, I
Exactly.
think this is gonna work. And then it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
The things that I had a lot of doubt and resistance on,
Yeah.
doing the affirmation actually made me feel bad because I really wanted the car, but I was believing that I couldn't get it. So doing the affirmation actually was like it was kind of a weird way of complaining about not having the car, and that didn't feel good. And
So you
again,
know
so
what?
that's my vibration, and then I'm blocking the vortex basically.
And you know what I just realized, Colin, that probably was an affirmation. And even if it was an affirmation, it was something that you wanted.
Mhm.
And what I realized is like you did get the car that you wanted, that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
So it came about, it just probably
Eventually,
it
yeah.
didn't come. Yeah. And that's the cool thing too, is that I think I was talking to the about with this with a friend the other day, is like I almost inevitably get everything I want. When I look
Yeah.
over the course of my life, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I wanted this and I got it. Oh, and not in the time frame necessarily or in the way or I had doubt or whatever, but when I look over through my life, I'm like, "Oh, I mostly get a lot of what I want." Um
Yeah,
so
there was something in the DVD extras of the "You Can Heal Your Life" movie from Hay House where Jerry Hicks is saying that from the time he was little, he kind of had this belief that he didn't tell anybody about, or like a suspicion that this was true. That basically, as soon as you are 4 years old, 5 years old, or whatever, you kind of know at a spiritual level everything you want to have happen in your life, and you actually get it.
mm,
And he at one point asked Abraham if that was correct, and Abraham was like, yes, that's correct. And
mm.
that's still it blew my mind at the time, like, whoa, like that was more than I could handle at the time. And still when I think about that, I'm like, whoa, what? Because that seems even more fairy tale woo woo, than the regular stuff we talk about. But I suspect it is true. Like there's something about like we come into this experience, whatever, and we have like this bunch of experiences, possessions, homes, whatever that we want to experience, and then we do sort of get all those things. It's just I think if you get better at the art of allowing, first of all, you just have a happier life because you're not struggling to get these things.
Yeah.
Like you're doing whatever's inspired
And you're
action
enjoying
around it, but you're
yourself in the
letting the universe do
moment.
the heavy lifting. Exactly. Like you're not like, because a lot of people, and actually we were talking about Kurt Cobain, the musician, before this, and I think he's one of those examples where he manifested like all these miracles, like like becoming, literally going from like this unknown punk band in the little corner of Washington State to like the largest band in the world, like the most famous band in the world, and playing to hundreds of thousands of people in Brazil and all this stuff. But at the same time, from what I've read about him, he's, there's this like dissatisfaction and this like every time something got manifested, it also brought problems and hardship and difficulty and conflict and all this sort of stuff. And so, I mean, I think one thing about the art of allowing is if you can just start practicing it and get better at it, at least my experience has been, you get the things that you've always wanted, but they come more easily. You accept them more with gratitude. You don't have to like feel like you're fighting for things, or when you get them and they're not enough, like that's been a huge part of the whole Vortex thing for me, is when something shows up, I'm usually still kind of surprised.
Yeah, me too
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's like I say that a lot these days.
Yesterday,
Like, wow,
for me.
I'm so surprised because, and why wouldn't I be? Because that's how the universe works all the time.
You always catch me that too. I always say that. I'm surprised you didn't bust me yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Because you're like, oh, really, Stephanie? You can't? Like, anything's possible? But it was like, I had been wanting for probably the last year to go up to Laguna Beach, but I didn't want to go by myself. And then when I was saying, we need to celebrate our first season together, what do you want to do? And you're like, oh, let's go to Laguna Beach. And I'm like, okay. But then when I'm driving up there, yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, I've been wanting to go to Laguna Beach. Oh my God, Collin and I are going to go there. We're going to celebrate out. And then it was a really good day. I had a great time. So I was like, that's in my Vortex and it popped out yesterday. Oh.
Yeah. So I think it's I'm really glad that you texted me and said, we need to talk about what the Vortex is for people, because you're right, we do talk about it constantly. If you go and watch any of the Abraham workshops that are on, the audio of them is on YouTube, there's thousands now. She talks about it pretty regularly. So I think it's helpful to understand, what it is. They have a book, right, too, that isn't.
Yes,
isn't
they
called
do.
All About the Vortex.
Yep, it's called The Vortex. Yeah, want me to grab it?
I wonder how they came up with that title.
What? I'll be right back.
Okay. We've never done this before on the podcast. We've never had Stephanie or me just walk off and then come back. So we do this live, so I don't really have anything super good to say. I hope people are getting a lot out of this. Okay, she's back.
They so this is The Vortex, and the book, it comes with an audio. It comes with an audio CD, and that also has several of their seminars on it, workshops, whatever they call them. And then they have another one. I didn't want to take that much time to find it, called Getting into the Vortex. And it's a book, and then it also comes with a CD, and it has several of their workshops on it. But great book. I have it highlighted, underlined in multiple places. And I want to just read this really quick. This is from the Law of Attraction book that they have, the basic teachings of Abraham. And I have this one thing. It says, it's on page 64. When joy is really important to you, you do not allow yourself to focus upon things that do not feel good. And the result of thinking only thoughts that feel good would cause you to create a wonderful life filled with all the things that you desire. When you hold the desire to be joyful and you are sensitive to the way you feel, and therefore guide your thoughts in the directions of things that feel better and better, you improve your vibration, and your point of attraction becomes one that will only attract, through the law of attraction, things that you desire. Deliberately guiding your thoughts is the key to a joyful life, but a desire to feel joy is the best plan of all, because in the reaching for joy, you find the thoughts that attract the wonderful life you desire.
It's beautiful. Cool.
Yay.
I think that's a pretty good stopping point there.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank everybody. Stephanie, if people want to get in touch with you.
www.powerenjoy.com.
And I have multiple sites and things that you can find in the description, but probably one of the central ways is my website, which is collinworster.com, which is COLLINWORSTER.com. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you listen to the audio version, thank you so much for watching us. If you watched us on the YouTube channel today, we really appreciate you listening and watching. And we'll see you next week on Co-Creation Station. And we will now just do the 20 seconds, which for the audio people, I think it's going to be a little weird. But for the video people, we're putting up the suggested videos for if you want to watch another one right now.
Thank you, everyone.
So we don't run over. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.